Hey, this is... I inherited that from Nick. I think it's cool. Just saying all the time. So, this is a TVZ in the Silver League between Snuck and Jeffsha. And your goal, I don't know, I don't really know your goal. I'm just going to have to watch and see what you do. But look how early this expansion is. That is great to use your giant ball sack to throw down a ridiculously early expansion. I love it. And you will sometimes lose a game because he goes pool first and hits you. But the percentage of Zergs that go pool first is like almost 0. So do it anyway, man. Frickin' do it anyway. It's worth it because of how far ahead it's going to put you economically in the cases where he doesn't go pool first, which is most cases. It's just like not getting an engineering bay and turrets against Protoss. Like, yes, I realize that once every 25 games I'm going to see DTs, and if I don't have a turret, I'm going to lose. But I'd rather lose 5% of my games to DTs than be behind on the other 95%. So, yeah, we're looking at worker count at 6 minutes. We got 28. Totally fine. You're doing well in that regard. You've supply blocked yourself for a second there. You're going for 3. I don't know about this. Infantry heavy TVZ is so countered, like hardcore countered by mass Ling Infestor Baneling. It's like the ultimate counter. Like in the game, there are things like Immortals versus tanks that are like a pretty big counter. And things like Marines beat Marauders are like a slightly smaller counter, and like Marauders beat Roaches is a slightly smaller counter, but Marauders beat Roaches is a 25% counter. Now I'm forgetting numbers. I don't know. Math is important to me, but it might not be important to you. Anyway, Marines beating Marauders, that's like a 15% counter. Ling Infestor Baneling used properly against Marine is like a almost 100% counter, because Fungals can kill you without losing anything, and even if they don't, they can kill you. They can hold you still while Banelings kill you while losing practically nothing, and even if they don't, then Fungals can hold you still while Lings surround you and kill you while losing practically nothing. So honestly, Marine versus Zerg only works if you have just amazing upgrades and a huge medevac count and constant reinforcements. And even in that case, you're going to lose your first fight, you're going to lose your second fight, and you're going to lose your third fight, and you have to win after that. You can't giant army versus giant army and expect to do anything but lose against Zerg. So you're doing, I believe you're doing Uber Ups. You came out with your first 9 Marines, and I love this. This is, I told you to do this. Make your first 7 Marines and go push across the map. And sometimes you'll catch the Zerg with his pants down and do a bunch of damage, and that's exactly what's happening here. At 9 minutes, you got 47 workers. How amazing is this? Your economy is huge. It's overwhelmingly ginormous. The strength of Uber Ups is the 2-2 timing attack. You get these double engineering bays really early and you use them. I feel like every time I've watched you have more than one armory or more than one engineering bay, they've been idle most of the game. I don't know that, man. Pay attention to your upgrades. The whole point of this build is the upgrades. So what you're shooting for is to be 2-2 with stim and combat shields and 8 medevacs at a time when the Zerg is either 0-0 or 1-1 and has either mutas or infestors. And just really have a bigger army than him with really crazy upgrades, and try to start a fight that rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls on and on and on and on forever. So you end up with 7 racks producing 14 Marines at a time, and you just kind of rally them to the Zerg's watchtower, and then from the watchtower you send little groups to go around here and attack his third, and go around here and attack his natural, and just stand on creep pre-spread and stuff like that. It's all about aggression. It's all about making the Zerg feel like he has to attack into you. You never want to be attacking into him, because anytime you move troops, they bunch up and they get fungled and they die. Look how amazingly well you're doing on income, man. 57 workers at 10 minutes. The problem is that once you have 52 workers, that's max saturation. So everything after 52 is just like excessive workers. So there's 2 ways to play it. When you do this super early expansion, you can cut at 46, and then that'll, if you cut workers there and just sit with 2 base, that'll give you the ability to hit like 200 unit space with 2 upgrades at about 14.5 minutes, which is amazing. It's insane. And then if you hit the Zerg with, you know, 200 unit space and 2 upgrades at 14.5 minutes, then the game kind of ends. Actually, even better than that is to hit him earlier than that and just kind of roll with it, like keep hitting and reinforcing and hitting and reinforcing. The second way is to just take your third so much earlier. So you're trying to take your third now. The problem is that until you have 2-2, you can't fight the Zerg on the field. If you go out there right now with this army, even though it's much bigger than the Zerg's army, it'll still probably lose if he gets to pick the ground and he has banelings or infestors. Because if you go in the unit map tester and you test just Marines and Marauders versus Lings and Banelings, it's insane how heavily Ling Baneling beats Marine Marauder. And it's only once you get those 2-2 upgrades and Medivacs that you really have any chance whatsoever of beating Ling Baneling or Ling Baneling Infestor. So these upgrades came so late, and you're not starting 2-2 now. You really need to have 2-2 done, and when you take your third. And so if you try to take your third super early like this, it can go wrong, man. It can go heavily freaking wrong. So look how far ahead you are on army size, on worker count, on income, on everything. But I'm worried for you, bro. I'm worried for you, bro, because to be super far ahead only matters if you use that lead to win the game. Because if you're super far ahead and then you just sit there and you're like, I'm super far ahead, and you let the Zerg catch up, then what was the point in being super far ahead in the early game? So now you want to be morphing this immediately. Come on, I can't believe he even let you land it, but now that he did let you land it, morph it into a planetary. Come on, please, I beg you. I beg of you. I beg of you. And having this little tiny army over here is just like saying, you know, come kill this little tiny army. It doesn't make any sense to me. Alright, so here's your Doom Drop. First 4 Medivacs are going to do a Doom Drop. I don't know. I do not like... What if he has mutas and he intercepts these? I love the idea of doing a Doom Drop, but you can just walk it across the ground until you get to you know, within much closer range, and then do a Doom Drop from there. Flying across the field with the preloaded Medivacs and no army to support them is bad. Also, your first fight, right? You have a huge army advantage. You got 180 supply to 124, and your first fight, you want to use that advantage. Every single troop you have should be part of the first battle. And you've got all these troops that are just not going to be part of the first battle. So you have an army that's big enough to kill the Zerg right now. If every single troop you had was spread out across this giant area in like massive like single file lines that are unfungable, the game would be over. You would win the game right there. But if you just take about a third of your army and you drop it on him with the rest of your army idle, the rest of your army is doing nothing, then he's just going to kill the third of your army that you gave him. You're like, here, kill this, and then he will. So I do not like this drop at all. I hate this drop. Okay, usually there are 2 styles of drops. A single medevac drop that's goal is just to distract, it's just to kill some workers, it's just to force him to respond. Single medevac drops, you do them while you do something else, and they distract the Zerg. The other one is called a Doom Drop, and usually a Doom Drop consists of your entire army. Those are the only 2 valid kinds of drops. You can't drop 4 medevacs worth of stuff. That's not valid, man. He's just gonna kill it. You did get that hatchery, and I'm very happy for you. And you did, looks like, load up your medevacs, but I doubt you're gonna get away. Oh, I've got my doubts. I've got my doubts. Oh, growth. Yeah, you're not gonna get away. So at this point, you're gonna lose this humongous number of troops, unless he's an idiot and just lets you get away. He might be an idiot, you guys. He might be an idiot. Yep. There you go. So, boom. Big loss. But more importantly than the fact that you just lost all that crap is that, look, you got 4,000 bucks in the bank. You've got massively oversaturated main, massively oversaturated natural. These workers are not doing anything. You've got exactly the right number of workers and exactly the right number of bases. But you didn't put them together. You didn't put the workers at the bases. So that's a really big problem. There are 3 components to a good economy, right? There's making enough workers, which includes not supply blocking yourself. And then there's putting the workers in the right place, which you didn't do in this game. And then there's spending the money that they pull in, which you also didn't do in this game. So you got the first one, and that is the first step on the road to being awesome. First step accomplished. But you need the second and third step, or else you're just not doing it, man. You're just not doing it. All this money is just going into your bank, and you're like, I've got a bank full of money, and you can swim around in it like Scrooge McDuck and stuff, but this is ridiculous. So you can check the percentage of inefficiency that's going on right here by saying 72 workers, 72 times 40, plus 2 mules, 160 plus 160, is a $3,200 income. So you should theoretically have a $3,200 income, and you actually have a 1340 plus $448 income divided by 32, and that says that you're 55%. You have 55% efficiency in your mining. That's very, very low. You want 100% and you have 55. So that's what's going on there. Also, the percentage of your money that you actually spent, I don't really know how to calculate that, but it's not ridiculously high either. This is actually good. He's going to suicide Lings into this for no apparent reason, so that's fine. The percentage of your army that you fought with, oh, that's a good one. Okay, I don't know. I don't really know how much more math you can tolerate at this point, but I would say that your army size when you did that 4 medevac drop, right here, 14 minutes. What? Did it already happen? No. Where are you, 4 medevac drop? Here we go, 4 medevac drop. So let's wait till it lands, and then we'll do math to tell you that you're wrong, because just saying that you're wrong isn't cool enough. It's much cooler if you do math. So we've got, let's see, $800 of medevacs plus $1,600 of Marines. And then we divide it by the size of your total army, which is, I don't know, oops. That, 45%. You took 45% of your army and kind of threw it over here all by itself, and it dies. So yeah, anyway, that's the point. You did the right build, you did it the right way, you didn't saturate your workers properly, you didn't have your whole army be part of that first fight. And actually, Nick used to make that exact same mistake in his TVZs, and I would always yell at him. He was like, I'm afraid to walk across the creep though, because if I just step onto the creep, now he knows where my army is, he has infestors, he's going to fungal it, and it's going to die. And that is a totally legitimate concern. I am with you, my brother. I am with you. That is going to happen, and that is why you do not want to walk across the creep. I'm all about that. That's fine. But walk to somewhere not on creep, like right here, that's much closer to his base. Pre-spread all your dudes out, and then do a single medevac drop that baits him into your army. And then when he attacks into your army, they're all spread out and everyone dies. So, I don't know if you were following my channel way back when I used to do Uber Ups all the time, but there are some really important rules to Uber Ups, and you got to follow all of them or else it just doesn't work. Because it's such a fragile build that only works because of suicidal aggression, because of the economic lead. And if you don't do those things, yeah, it just falls apart. Totally crap build. Totally crap build, Bo. This is why initially that you were doing mech versus in TVZ, just because mech doesn't have all these crazy rules. With mech, all you do is A move, man. If you have a 200 unit space mech army of pure like Thor with 10 tanks and 15 or 16 Hellions, and you A move it into this, as long as the Hellions are in the back, auto following like the back siege tank, you win. You know, you just kind of win. That's how it works. So mech is a lot easier to use, whereas infantry is a lot easier to make. It's much easier to make a really large infantry army. It's much easier to defend against various Zerg attacks with an infantry army. It's much, you know, people like infantry. Infantry is likable. Everybody loves to use infantry because it's so fast. You can get anywhere. You can heal it. You can, you know, it's fun. So I understand why you want to make infantry, and I want to make infantry myself. And but in order to make it work in TVZ, you just really have to have an upgrade advantage. You really have to have a bigger army. You really have to have a pre-spread army. You really have to use your entire army in the first fight. You really have to have that first fight before you hit like 160 unit space. Hopefully right when you get 2-2 so that you have an upgrade advantage, because see how he's 3-3 against your 2-2. This is terrible. You're never going to beat 3-3 adrenal gland Langs with 2-2 Marines and no medevacs. And yeah, you really need to do multiple attacks at once. You really need to, you know, it's a complicated thing, man. It's complicated. You can't make a bunch of Marines in A move. Although, if you had made a bunch of Marines in A move, you probably would have won this game. Let's look. Let's see. So at this point, he has 4 fungals, and you have 66 Marines and 2 medevacs and 3 marauders. And he's got 53 zerglings. So I think maybe if you just A moved your entire army at this point, you might have won. You might have. It's entirely possible. Because 4 fungals just isn't enough to kill 70 Marines unless you very specifically clump them up into little tiny clumps and stand still. So yeah, I don't know. This is not how you do it. It's not how you do it. You and I, man, get on the unit map tester and show you how to use a very large Marine army and show you how important the upgrades are and all that kind of stuff, because yeah. Unit map tester. Where are you, unit map tester? What the hell? Oh, it's because I'm on Halby. I'm usually on free wins when I use the unit map tester. Unit map tester. Oh well, this is taking too long. So final recommendation, go back to mech. That is my final recommendation. If you want to make infantry, half mech, because you're not getting your upgrades quick enough, you're not spreading your units out enough, you're not using your units in the proper manner, and I don't like it. Just in general, it's much easier for the Zerg than it is for you. Whereas mech is much harder for the Zerg to deal with. So yeah, I kind of feel like that's the same thing as I want to say about your TVT too, is like you are getting really good at having a ton of money and spending it and making a ton of infantry. But if you're not going to attack with that infantry at about 160 unit space and you're not going to have 2 upgrades at that point, what's the point in having a bunch of infantry? Once your opponent gets a certain amount of area of effect damage stuff, infestors with fungal and banelings and siege tanks on and blue flame hellions, the more Marines you have, the more of them are getting hit by that splash, and the less useful they become. So Marine builds are all about an early attack. They're all about killing your opponent around 10 to 14 minutes. That's when Marines are strong. And if you do a ton of damage in that early game, you can continue to make Marines all game long. As long as you get to 140 U, then you trade, and now you're both back down to 80 unit space, and then you fight at 80 unit space again. You fight at 120 unit space, you fight at 80 unit space, you fight at 120 unit space. Marines are awesome at low unit space, but once you get to high unit space armies, big max armies with lots of area of effect, Marines become utterly crap, and that's because of their $50 per unit space price tag. And yeah, anyway, I can't find the unit map tester, so bye.